Right, so we've been looking at how we can use Copilot in terms of generating content. So either adding content directly into a prompt and asking it to sort of like we work with that and generate I don't know, something from that, whatever that might be, or just using the sort of like the Bing search functionality we built within it to find us some content and then sort of like process it into whatever we're trying to achieve. What we're looking at today is like really kind of like how we can create summaries from text, which seems quite a straightforward thing, but it's really it saves a lot of time to having to read whole documents and just summarize things. Or it could be emails as well, or just policies or whatever it might be, just to create a quick summary about something that you've come across. So again, trying to sort of like make time more efficient in the classroom and at school or any other workplace, to be honest. So I've got a new session open. I've got GPT-4 on. The tone I've gone for here, is not the usual one where I've probably used in the past, which is like balanced or concise, but the one I'm showing here is more creative. Now you can see it gives you a kind of like 4,000 character kind of limitation on that. So what I've done, I've just copied some information from a kind of like a specification, a computer science specification. I'm just going to ask it very quickly. So I'm putting it straight into the prompts. Summarize the content below in terms of key focus. It's only a very short amount that I've put in here just to sort of show you what it can do. So all I've done, I've found some information. It's in a PDF, and then I've just put it straight into the prompt here, and I thought, okay, well, let's just start working through it. And you can see here, it just starts coming out in terms of the contents. So talk about programming paradigms and principles of programming. So it's like I've taken the content, I've put it directly into that. Now, obviously, there's limitations around that in terms of the character count at the minutes, in terms of what the amount of information I can put into it. So one thing I've been looking at is like sort of like pointing to the content that you want, and then just like work on it from that point of view. So that might be something online, or it might be a PDF or a web page or something like that. So I'm going to ignore that now. I'm just going to kind of delete that. So you can see it's creating my sort of like a summary of it. Put some images in there as well, which is very nice of it. And it's just kind of, I pulled out the key things from that. So I'm going to do a new topic, and I'm going to keep it on creative. I've still got my 4,000 character count, but I'm doing something quite different. So I've got my prompts. And what you can see from this particular prompt that I've got, I'm going to paste this in. Now, obviously, you can see I'm not directly pasting the content in. It says here, so from the foreign resource, add all the reference to Charles Dickens' Oliver Twist, add context where possible to what is mentioned, and add to a table below. So you can see there I've got the PDF, and I'm actually pointing to the resource that I want it to go to on the internet. So I can circumnavigate the issue around sort of like the character count limits, and I can say, okay, this is what I want you to look at. And you can see here, it starts going through it. I can identify it. It starts putting the citations in here that you can see there where the document's from. And I've asked it specifically to focus on, Oliver Twist. And you can see it's going through that and just sort of putting out any reference within the document around Oliver Twist. That was quite, a large document that I put, sort of pointed to. There's no way I could have got all that information into a prompt. So rather than doing that, I've said, right, this is where I want you to go and have a look. And you can see it's referencing the page, it's adding some context, and it's putting out the kind of like specifics around that. So this is a great way of sort of like not having to be limited by what you're putting into it. Now, where you go with this is up to you. And a lot of what I'm trying to show you is kind of like, ideas that you might sort of either try out and then develop yourself in terms of how you might use Copilot, for example, because you might come up with lots of ideas for your kind of subject area, which I haven't got experience of. Again, I've just looked at English in this point here. So I'll just stop responding that one now, because I want to move on to my next prompt, which is here. Now, what I've done is, I've got the whole book of A Christmas Carol, which I've found under, I'll show you the reference in a second. I can paste this in. That Gutenberg, and you can see that it's got the full sort of like book, which I can sort of like then create a prompt to then pull things out. So use following resource, identify references to isolation in the novella, ideally some quotation, add these into a table along with a summary of the meaning. Okay, so I'm going to put there the novella is A Christmas Carol. Oops. Yes, Carol, like that. But you know, it should recognise that as soon as it goes onto it. So I've got the web page that you can see there. My character count doesn't matter. I'm going to submit that, and then something I haven't really gone into yet in terms of asking it to format the content that you want in a table as well, which is really, really helpful because you can just copy and paste that directly into another document. There is the functionality of actually downloading the document as a spreadsheet. I'm using the iPad application here, so it doesn't give me that functionality. But with other sort of guises of Copilot, you can do that. So again, you can see here we go. It's page 2. Screws was his sole executive, his sole administrator, his sole assign, etc. And added a bit of summary in terms of like the idea of like, well, where's isolation featured within the book. And you can see it's away, and it's creating the kind of like the quotations, or finding the quotations within the resource, which you can see down there, Gutenberg.org as the kind of the citation, and then isolating, so talk about isolation. So it's doing what I've asked it to, and it's putting the reference in there as well. So I mean, you could take this anywhere you want, really. You could summarize all sorts of documents. You could take a YouTube transcript and summarize the content from that as well, which I'll go into in a different video. And now you've got this kind of like summary of information from a very, very large document. It's then, well, where do you go with that? And one of the last prompts I was going to show you is, again, like how you could create maybe a knowledge organizer from the content that you're summarizing. So I could say, right, let's make a knowledge organizer about the theme of isolation, focus on the kind of quotations, the meaning, the vocabulary, etc., which I can then provide to year 10 students and so on. So you can see it's creating this for me. By the looks of it, it's only looking at that one reference at the minute, but often you might find if you get more citations appear at the bottom, it's actually trying to find information from somewhere else. So it's not just focused on whatever you put in there. So it kind of like sometimes it blends both of them. But in this case so far, I've provided it a web page which has got the kind of like the whole book of A Christmas Carol, and I can just create my prompt here, say, right, go to this resource, find me the information, bring it back, summarize it, well, not bring it back, but summarize it, and then sort of output it as I want it to. So it's a really, really useful feature or way of using artificial intelligence in this case here, where we can sort of like save a lot of time, and I can just set this off. I mean, I'm talking to you now, it's still doing it. I could have gone off and done something else, so I can come back to this. Okay, how's my assistant working through the kind of like themes of isolation, and while I've been doing something else, so I can check over, and it looks good. I mean, I'm not an English teacher, but it looks good so far in terms of what I've asked it to do. Oh, there you go. Now it's got extra citations in there as well, so it has gone to other areas as well. But you can click on those and say, okay, well, where's it got it from? That's the original one I've got in there. It's got some other things in there as well, so it's gone off and looked within kind of like the themes of isolation from somewhere else as well. So it's quite a useful thing to do, and you could narrow that down and say, okay, I only want you to focus on this particular thing. But really, it's just a kind of like a proof of concept that you can sort of like not have to worry about the character count by just putting the content directly into a prompt. You can point to that information and then work on it within Copilot as well.